The most dangerous thing that your partner can give you at 65 isn't an argument, it's permission. It's 8:15 a.m. on a beautiful spring morning, and the sun is starting to hit the trees. The birds are already out, of course, and it's really pleasant out here. But inside the house, it's completely quiet and still. And I'm sitting here lacing my boots while the person I love the most is fast asleep in a warm bed. And in this silence, there's a massive unspoken temptation to just stay, to have a slow morning, to be comfortable together because it's a nice day. See, I've decided that at 65, I'm not easing off. I'm out here because I have a standard to keep, regardless of how nice the weather is. But the person you share your life with decides they've done enough. And that can create a standards gap. And quite frankly, if you don't handle that gap right, it doesn't just ruin your fitness, it starts to erode your marriage. I'm talking about the friction of the shared life. Most of the advice for people our age is about taking it easy together. It's about the shared cruise, the slow decline into an armchair, and the comfortable existence. Especially on a morning like this, the world just tells you to relax. But what happens when one of you refuses to go? What happens when you want to push and they want to pause? It can be a lonely feeling. You're lacing up your boots at 6:15 whilst they turn over under the duvet. You're headed out into the crisp air while they're staying under the covers. And as I'm driving away from the house, there's a massive temptation in that silence. The temptation isn't a lecture or an argument from her. It's the quiet permission of the warm bed. When your partner slows down, they are unconsciously giving you permission to slow down too. On a pleasant morning, that permission feels like a reward. But at 65, quite frankly, that reward is a trap. I realised I couldn't let my pace be dictated by someone else's comfort, even if the person is the most important to me in the world. So what does this actually look like in a marriage? The biggest mistake I see people making is trying to fix their partner. They start lecturing. They start acting like a drill sergeant in the kitchen. They try to drag their partner out on the walk, and it fails every single time. You can't lecture somebody into having a standard. A standard is a personal line in the sand, and if you try to force them over the line, you aren't a leader, you're a nuisance. I realised that if I wanted to maintain my standards without destroying my marriage, then I had to become the immovable object. She knows that on a weekday at 6:30, I'm through that door with the dogs. Doesn't matter if it's a beautiful morning or if we stayed up late. The walk is non-negotiable. I'm not trying to prove a point to her. I'm trying to do it to keep the promise I made to myself. And a funny thing happens when you just keep going. You stop being a lecturer. You start becoming a lighthouse. You aren't forcing them to move. You're just showing them that movement is still possible. Here's the hard truth that we don't talk about. If you're 65 today, you need to look in what I call the 10-year mirror. Look at yourself and your partner. If one of you continues to move and the other settles into the armchair, where does a marriage end up when you're 75? I think it ends up in a caregiver relationship. If I ease off because it's easier to stay in the house with her, I'm actively choosing to be less capable in a decade. I'm choosing to be a man who can't help her, who can't carry the shopping, who can't lead the way when things get tough. The standards gap isn't about fitness, it's about dignity. By keeping my pace high, I'm not leaving her behind. I'm making sure that in 10 years, I'm strong enough to support her, even if she can't move well. My discipline isn't a selfish act. It's a long-term investment in our shared future. Quite frankly, the most loving thing you can do for your partner is to refuse to let your own standards slip. Because if you both go soft, the house falls down. Somebody has to hold the line. And there's a feeling that comes with this. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't. It's a quiet, nagging sense of guilt. You're pulling on your boots, trying to be silent, and you look back at that warm, comfortable bed and you think, is this selfish? Am I being the bloke who just does what he wants whilst his partner is resting? But quite frankly, that's a trap. It's the same trap as taking it easy. If I stayed in that bed, I'm not being supportive. I'm just being complicit in the slow erosion of our future. Think about it. If I ease off because she has, then in 10 years, we're both less capable. We're both moving towards that caregiver dynamic faster than we need to. By holding my line, I'm not leaving her behind. I'm doing the heavy lifting now so that I can carry her later if I have to. Capability isn't a hobby, it's a duty. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to be the one who refuses to let the standards slip. Even if the person you love most is giving you every reason to stay under the covers. The guilt is a feeling, but the standard, that's the truth. If you're living in that gap right now, if you're the one lacing up while the house stays silent, I want to hear from you. How do you handle that quiet permission? How do you stay focused on your reset when the person you love most is telling you to take a day off? It's a tough conversation, and it's one we need to have, because at 65, we don't have the time to waste being comfortable. Standards aren't a feeling. They're a choice you make in the quiet of a 6:15 a.m. house. The walk doesn't care who else is in bed. Just go. But stick around.